Hey guys, Susan's still in the Philippines and I've got another couple of days before she gets back, and today's been an opportunity for me to be reminded that van life can be very fragile, and I wanted to take the opportunity today to show you guys how we might manage maybe some things that we might need to repair in the van. As you can see, our fridge is in the closed position there, and if you drive around without having the fridge latch on proper, that fridge door is going to swing open. There's a latch there which I drove off without latching, and the door swung open, and I've lost all the gear that was in here. I had some drinks down the bottom there, and this bottom shelf has come off. As you can see, this isn't the first time it's happened. We've already had to make a repair on this one. This door's taken a bit of a battering, and it's time. You can see we've already had to make a number of repairs on this door, and also this hinge down the bottom here, which you can't see. But this is the shelf that I've broken today, and you can see what's come off just there. So I'm going to try and attempt to put that back together. And hopefully you'll be able to see how we might be able to manage this and how we can put these things back together. And it's not the end of the world. You can put these things back together. We've done it a number of times before, and hopefully I don't have to do it again. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to try some araldite first to put that back together, but I know that's not going to be strong enough for it. I'm going to need to reinforce it with some fiberglass. So what I've done, I've gone and bought some fiberglass gear, which you'll see can be very handy on the road. Especially we've used this fiberglass a number of times, and I know it's going to work today. I didn't have my whole fiberglass kit with me. It's in storage. We're still on the road, but I'm sure we're going to need it again in the future. This little bucket will come in handy. Most of this gear came in this ready-made kit. So in this kit came with this bucket. You'll want some gloves, obviously the resin and hardener to go with the resin, some fiberglass sheets, and some cheap brushes. The kit also come with one of these sticks and a measuring cup. This I just found lying around, and we also had some spare paint brushes. You'll also want some sandpaper as well to sand it back at the end. Okay, so first up I've got some araldite here. This is the super strength stuff. That's just the stuff we just happen to have on hand. I would have preferred the quick dry stuff, but this will do. We've got some good sunlight here, so that should be able to help it harden quick enough. I just need it to be hard enough to stay in position. So all I've done is I've got a couple of drops of it right there. I'm not sure if you can see just there. A couple of drops of araldite, one of each, and I'm going to mix that up and apply it onto the broken piece there. Okay, so all I've done is I've mixed those two together, and then I've pasted them onto the crack and stuck it back together. That's just basic. That's pretty straightforward there. Okay, so while we wait for that araldite to dry, just got out some fiberglass sheets. We cut it up into pieces. You want to make sure that the pieces are cut up before you go putting it on, otherwise you'll get resin all over and it'll get sticky. You don't want to be stuffing around with scissors. Once it's sticky, you get the resin on your scissors, it'll be a pain in the butt. Yeah, speaking from experience. Don't tell Susan I did this on the bed. But it's just too windy out today and I've got to get this done. So just cut up a few pieces to what you think might be an appropriate size. Yeah. And just put those aside for when you're ready. I don't know how much I'll need. Maybe that much. I can clean this stuff up later. It's not so much the fiberglass, it's the resin that'll mix with it. That's when it gets sticky and a pain in the butt. Alright, so we got our little bits there, little bits of fiberglass. Okay, so I'm just about to bring the shelf down and I'll show you how I'm going to sort of try and plan the fiberglass job. It's not fully dried yet, but this part here, that's where it will slot on, so I can't really fiberglass in there. So what I need to do is I need to strengthen the rest of it. So on this side, I should be able to fiberglass on this side. I might be able to get a little bit of fiberglass on there. And underneath I should be able to fiberglass over that. Okay, so just going to take some resin and pour it in this cup here. I don't need much, but this is just the first lot. Okay. My goal is not to get it on the bed. And hopefully your gloves will be better than mine. Just try and wipe that off if you can. So this thing says mixing. Okay, so on a cold day, 2.5 mil to 3 mil for every 100 milliliters of resin. Here we've got 250. And for a hot day, which I think it's going to count as a hot day, I'll stick it in the sun. 1.5 mil to 2 mil of hardener for every 100 mil of resin. Alright, I'm not going to measure it up too much, I'm just going to sort of guess it. I know in here is about 15 mil. I really just need a tiny squirt in here. My goal is to have it on before it starts to get gluggy. That's the hardener there. Just give it a bit of a squirt. Really doesn't need much. I'm not going to go measuring it up. Even if I use the measuring cup that we've got here, I mean it's not very, see, that's not going to help me. What's happened to me in the past is you mix it up and then you start putting your hardener together on a sunny day and the stuff starts to go hard even before you're finished and it's a pain. So I prefer less hardener than needed, to be honest. Alright, so get yourself your little paintbrush. there. If you're doing a big job, you might want to consider putting a little plate, sticking this onto a little plate so it can't tip over. But if you're just doing a small job like this, just whatever you do, don't tip this blasted thing over. So first thing you want to do is you want to put a coating where you're going to put your fiberglass. Just a coating of resin. And that just gives the fiberglass something to stick to. Now here's where it gets messy. When you start touching the fiberglass onto the resin, got to work quickly here, because I can see the hardness starting to change color already. You see I didn't put much hardener in there and the resin's already starting to go a different color, so I haven't got much time here. That's right. Not quite stuck on properly yet, but that's okay, it'll get stuck. As you can see, I'm not an expert at this, but neither is anyone really. You don't need to be an expert to do this. All I need is this thing to stay together, because I obviously will not be buying a new shelf. So you can see how it gets messy. Look at my hands. I might even be able to do this in one go. You can see the hardness starting to change colour. There, it was green before, now it's all like a yellow. So it's a bit of a race against time there now, because otherwise the resin will go hard. Yeah, we don't want that, but I don't want to wait forever for the stuff to dry either. As long as it doesn't go gluggy before I'm finished doing this. All right, that's looking pretty good. Yep, that'll strengthen up real well. All right, so I just let that dry, and as they say here in Australia, Bob's your uncle. But stick it in the sun and it'll dry real quick. Earlier on in our van days, we had a tyre blowout, and what happened, we hit a piece of steel and it ripped up the tyre, and it also ripped up the inside of the wheel hub there, and that plastic piece was, it kind of needed to be replaced, but we managed to fix it up with the fiberglass as well. So I'll just show you what we did there, and you can see how useful the fiberglassing is. So this is the piece that broke out, and the entire thing was ripped all the way from here all the way up to about here, and that's been repaired ever since now. That really wasn't like that before. That you can see how it's been fiberglassed back together. I'll show you the other side to see what it used to look like. But this whole piece we took out and fiberglassed that back in one piece. So you can see how handy that fiberglass job is. That was shredded all the way up to about here, and we just painted it black. And that's what it looked like before. You can see how different it looks. So you can see how this fiberglass, it's not just handy for on the road in a motorhome, you might find it handy at home too. Okay, now I've given it some time to dry, and I've trimmed off the fuzzy edges, and I've sanded back all the rough edges with just a little bit of sandpaper. And now that it's dry and the sandpaper's off, this is what it looks like. You can see how it all seems to be starting to come back together. It's not going to look like it used to, but it's certainly going to be operational, and because it's reinforced, it's going to be stronger than it used to be. You can see how I've reinforced it at the back there as well. And what I didn't notice until after I'd put it all together, there was a slight crack going in this direction here that I hadn't noticed. So now that I've sanded all this back, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it another coat just to smooth it all out. No more fiberglass, just a bit of resin coat on top of that, except for this new fiberglass here. Just a resin coat on top to smooth it all out, and job over. smooth that out. Make it a bit smoother. I could paint it afterwards if I wanted to, but painting it's really not going to do anything practical. It's just going to make it look better. We do have some white paint there, so I'll be up to Susan if she wants to paint it later. If she wants to paint it, I'll paint it, but I don't think it's really going to need it. So I'll let that dry overnight and it should be ready to install by the morning. Okay, so it's been about 5 hours since I fiberglassed this shelf, and I'm pretty happy with how it's hardened there. And that was that extra little crack that I had there. It's pretty smooth, and I'm really happy with the result. That thing's not going to break off anytime soon, so I can put that thing back in there now. Yeah, we're back in business. Ah, nice. Yeah, that's not going to stop us. Love it. All right. I go at that. Now, when we get going, must have that thing on. Yeah.